as well. So yeah, welcome to today's webinar, this month's webinar, all about getting shit done, streamlining ops. This is one of the things that comes up so much across 51% Club and with founders. So I'm super excited to have Christina here today. She is going to lead you through some absolutely fantastic actionable steps that you can take to feel like you're productive, everything's streamlined, and you got your shit together. And don't we all want a bit of that? So I'm going to be here in the background if anyone needs anything. But Christina, over to you.
Thank you, and hello everyone. Welcome to this session on getting shit done. A confession straight up. If it looks like I'm standing in a kitchen, it's because I am standing in a kitchen. This is the kitchen that I'm standing in Portugal, and you can hopefully see a little bit of Portugal out the door there. And it's actually not that sunny today, which is okay because it's very hot and sunny the rest of the time. But yeah, thank you for joining, and I'm really looking forward to running this session with you guys. First up, I'd love to know if anyone's happy to drop in the comments what you'd like to get out of today. I'd love to just have an idea about sort of what brought you to the session and what something you'd like to get out of today. If nothing else, it will help me realize whether we are on track for that or not. Magical insights into processes. Ooh, okay, okay. Yeah, we've definitely got some of that in there. Some practical, easy to implement tips from Susie. Yep, we've got that. Yes. To be more organized and time efficient. Yeah, definitely have some of that in there. I've not long started my BMS and looking to save a bit more time. Okay, great. So that kind of streamlining the ops thing, that title that we've got there. What else have we got here? Eleanor says, I'd love to learn how to manage all the endless hats. Yeah, I hear you on that one. Yeah, we've definitely got some of that. Would love to feel like I'm winning my day. Yeah, that really resonates with me. I've definitely had various points in my life where I felt like that. How to make the best use of my time. Yeah, got some of that in there. Em says, tips to lessen the overwhelm. Oh yes, oh boy, that's a big one, isn't it? Yep, got that. Getting rid of the noise and focusing on key revenue driving actions. Yeah, great, brilliant. Fabulous. Well, we've got that in the content. So let's jump in and start having a look at it. Could you guys just give me a thumbs up if this has just gone to the me slide next? I've just got a bit of Zoom anxiety and checking that this is working and the slides are following along. Are we good? Can you all see a me slide? Yep, fab, thank you. Okay, so a quick intro on me. Who am I? And frankly, what gives me the right to talk about this? And why should you listen? Well, I'm Christina. I'm an alignment and systems design coach. I believe clarity, alignment, and interlocking systems are key to everything. Personally, my view, success, happiness, everything. I founded Allegro earlier this year when I stopped working full-time as chief of staff. And my signature program that I run in my coaching practice is called Align OS, which stands for Align Operating System. And I studied at the Animas School of Transformative Coaching last year. And I like to share that because I know there's a lot of coaches out there with varying degrees of training. So I like to share that that's my particular background. So a little bit more of a deeper dive into that. I was a former chief of staff at Bristol, and we could spend hours talking about what a chief of staff is. But to just talk about what kind of chief of staff I was the right-hand person for the CEO at Bristol, which was a female, which was lovely. And my particular role was about 7xing the impact and effectiveness of her and the executive leadership team there. And my way of doing that, my way of building that, what I believe, my philosophy around that is it's in designing and building operating systems. A bit more about me. I'm a mother of 3. Systems keep me sane. I even have a household operating system, which is true. It's not a joke. I've had so many conversations and people have been like, oh, that's hilarious. And I'm like, no, it's real. I do have a household operating system. We are in the middle of an international move, which is why I'm in a kitchen in Portugal today and not in a more usual office location. So hopefully that explains that bit. again, I could talk for hours about why that is, but really it's kind of a bit about alignment in that what we want for our family, what we want for ourselves, um, feels like it might be more aligned with living not in the UK. The first part of my career, I won't bore you too much here, I promise, but the first part of my career was in events. Um, some of the more glamorous work was Bentleys in Finland driving around on ice. Some of the less glamorous parts were standing on shopping centre stands and data capturing. Um, and I loved events. I loved them because you could design experiences and you could transform the way people felt. And that designing experiences and transforming the way people felt has been a bit of a life pillar, if you like, for me. It's kind of what I followed all through my career and in my personal life. And I call that time BC, before children, because anyone that's done events or anything like that will know that scheduling is, the schedule is grueling. Scheduling is also grueling. And the travel, and it just isn't very complementary with having three children. So the second part of my career, I still actually stuck to those themes of transformation and experience design, but I went off on an ops direction. So rather than staying in events and staying in the delivery events, I went into ops, where I got very curious about um, why in business are there some really great teams, and why in business are there other teams that don't perform so well, and what's the difference, and what is the effect on those teams that aren't performing so well on the business. And just very curious, lots of questions. Why does it work like that? How come? What can we do? How can we make less well-performing teams become higher performing teams? What can we take from that other team operating system kind of DNA? What can we do? And during that time, another thing happened, which was I kind of discovered that the effectiveness of the leadership team was very crucial to how well the ops worked for the business. Because if your leadership team is a bit naff, and it's surprising how many are really, your operations are never gonna work well. And in sort of discovering that and discovering the leadership team is kind of the head of the nail, if you like, and everything, the clarity and the effectiveness has to start there. That's sort of how I went from working in ops as a head of ops and promoted into a chief of staff role. Because when the ELT, executive leadership team, or the leadership team are working right, it's very easy for everything to kind of then fall into place. And that's how I ended up on the operations side and doing the chief of staff role. And I'm kind of sharing all this because I guess I'm trying to share with you guys that my whole career has been an exercise in kind of transformation and alignment and systems, but also on a personal side, it's something that's very much preoccupied me. So even if I put work sort of to the side, I've always thought, like, what is a good life? And someone mentioned it in the comments earlier, like, I want to feel like I'm not running away from the day. I want to get to the end of the day and feel like I've done a good job. I want that intentionalness. I want to know that what I'm striving for is actually what I want, and I want to feel like I'm doing a good job. And I don't want to just feel like I'm just getting through and like I haven't seen my kids for a week. You've seen them, but you kind of haven't really seen them, like you haven't really connected with them. And all these sorts of questions. So like, how do you have a life that is the life that you want? Is that's what I'm showing. And that's also been a kind of personal preoccupation of mine. But that's enough about me, because today is about you guys. And I think maybe where you're at, but I'd love to, again, like if you think I'm well off here, please tell me. Or if you think this pretty much sums it up, let me know. But from what I've kind of seen and from clients I've had, the female founder, we've got loads to do. We've got not enough time to do it in. We're so busy with the day-to-day work that we don't have enough time to do the deep work. That might be different things for different people, the thinking, the strategy, the creation, but it's the work only you can do. And you know what it is. You absolutely know what the work is that you need to be doing. And you know that your business success depends on that work. And you know it's not in the delivery, but yet you are still feeling like you're doing too much delivery, still being too reactive, still not having enough of a handle on your own deck you would like to. And you're the one holding it all together. You carry the load. And I think particularly if you have family, you feel like you're carrying the load on like a number of different levels. You're carrying the family load, you're carrying your business load, and it all just feels very heavy. But if anyone doesn't feel like that or thinks that I'm barking up the wrong tree completely, then please do let me know, because it's very helpful. And before we get into the super practical stuff, which we are going to get into some super practical stuff, and some interactive things to help you. Great. Yeah, thanks, Juliana. Brill. Yeah, just saying that's definitely the case for me. Yeah, so that's great to know that at least it lands with one person. So just going to intro a little concept before we get into the super practical stuff. And that is really this whole time management thing, this whole need to be more organized. It comes across in different ways. People sort of say it in different ways because we're all different. So some people say, I need to be more organized. Some people say, I'm just so disorganized, or I'm so scattered, or I just need to get my day sorted out, just get my weeks organized, or I just need to stop reacting and take my time back. So it comes out in different ways, sort of what people say and how they feel about time. But it starts with you, no matter what way you're saying it, or how you feel about it, it does start with you. And that might sound obvious when I say it like that. But what I'm trying to share with you here is it's actually not your calendar. It's not your team. I mean, it could possibly be your team, but it might not be your team. It might not be your to-do list. It might not be any of the things that we say or think it is. There's a very real chance that it's something going on with you in your inner world. And what I mean by this is I've kind of seen 5 common archetypes over the years with working with female leaders and female founders. And oh, is anyone, Bali, thanks for that comment. Is everyone else being able to see the slides? So Bali just said that she can't see any slides. Is anyone else having that problem? You can see the slides? Okay. Everyone can see the slides. I'm wondering if it's a setting, Bali, on your Zoom. Or maybe you've just got the video on and not the slides. I don't know whether there's anything you could maybe do. Can you oh yeah, someone's coming in with a great tip here, Katie, thank you. Click on the top tab, it will say meeting or Christina's screen. Can you see that, Bali? Does that help? I'll leave you with that, and you've got the comments there. If I carry on, and I'll just check back in a minute and see whether you're on. Does that sound okay? Okay. So we've got sort of 5 common archetypes that I've seen in leaders and founders. I just wanted to share those with you. And I'll have to kind of rush through them a little bit because so we've got enough time for the second part of this session. But there's kind of 5 types I've seen. The first one that I've seen a lot is the self-sacrificer. And this person has got a great work ethic. And they kind of believe that they can push through this. I'll just get through this. I'll just have to work harder. And it's really interesting because actually they're normally very kind and empathetic, and they wouldn't expect anyone else to work like that. But somehow they're putting themselves through that, So we've got this self-sacrifice archetype. The other archetype that I've seen is the wannabe, which sounds like I'm being slightly offensive here, I know. But what I mean by this is the wannabe is you either want to be like someone else, or sometimes you want to be like an idealized version of yourself in a perfect world. And I've definitely done this before. I've definitely like idealized myself in a perfect world and been like, yeah, I'll do that. I'm just going to wake up and just go to the gym 7 times this week, or whatever thing it was I've decided on the spur of a moment. And I'm just going to be like that idealized version of myself in a perfect world. And of course, it doesn't really exist. But this person, they might want to transplant their entire personality. They might want to transplant their body. They might want to, wish they had a different energy. If I could just do this, or if I could just be that way, or if I could just do that. And often it, whatever it is completely different to how they actually are. Like that's not who they are. It's just a random sort of ideal that they think might then be the key to getting where they want to get to. So it might be they want to be someone else. It might be they want to be an idealized version, but that's kind of what I mean in that archetype. And then the other archetype is the reactive firefighter. They're just trying to get through the day. They're trying to get through the week. They're going to get organized when things calm down, but then things never do calm down. And then at some point they get this creeping sense of dread. And this kind of the start of like resenting their business, because they realize that it's never going to calm down. and they're going to have to purposefully find and dig out some time to do something about it, or else they're going to be almost trapped in this prison of being on call for everyone all the time. Um, the fourth one is what I call the perfectionist procrastinator. And this archetype sort of like, got to plan it perfectly. If I just plan everything perfectly, then I can begin. And this is interesting because it kind of keeps off failure, disappointment, rejection. And it's that belief, if I just find the right way, if I just really think this over and over and over, if I get the right system, or I get the right plan, or I get the right approach, whatever it is, I can, oh no, Bali, no joy with screen. Okay. Okay. If you want to leave and come back again, I hope that works. If not, let me send a little message to Tara as well, because Tara is waiting in the wings and she might have a different idea for us. So try that, and we'll see you in a minute and see if it works. And if it doesn't, we'll see if Tara can help us out with that one. Okay. So this perfectionist procrastinator type it's really about safety. Like if I can keep myself safe by over planning, I can keep myself protective. There will be no unfavorable outcome as long as I do this right. And it's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of pressure to be in that place. And I definitely recognize myself in this at times. And then finally, the aligned leader or the system builder. And this person, they design for them, they design for their team, they design for their business. They think they are enough. They think they're more than enough. They think they're great. They appreciate their own value and strengths. And they're about aligning with that and then building systems that increase their effectiveness and impact. And that archetype, it feels like the most comfortable archetype. But I'm really curious if anyone wants to sort of share in the comments or can speak aloud if you would like to into the space. Does anything come up for you? It might not be necessarily that you're one, or you might really recognize yourself as one. You might recognize yourself as all of those at different times, different amounts. But I'm just curious, does any of that resonate for anyone? The wannabe. Interesting. Yeah. So that kind of self-sacrificing. Yeah. Alicia's part, I feel like 1 to 4. Yeah. Revolving between them. Self-sacrifice and directed firefighter. Yeah. 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 Juliana, sometimes firefighter, sometimes. Yeah. I'm very much self-sacrificer. Yeah. Yeah. Bit of all, several of these. Yeah. A line leader. Woohoo. Alice Evans, self-sacrificer. Yeah. I'm saying perfectionist. Yeah. So you often find yourself, it might be a really strong one. You might sort of rotate through them. But to a degree, or my belief, I'm not going to say it's your belief, but it's my belief, if we can spend as much time in a line leader as we can, that's kind of the recipe for contentment. And you might be saying, but it's just time management. Like what is Christina going on about? I've come here for time management. And it is, but also we have to just kind of know that there's this fundamental shift that has to happen. There is no amount of productivity tips are going to help you if you keep self-sacrificing. If you don't feel like you're enough, you're going to struggle to evolve into an aligned leader. Yeah, Rachel's put, feel like I'm everyone at different times. Yeah, all mixed into one. So yeah, if you don't feel like you're enough, you are going to struggle to evolve into an aligned leader. Because real-time management isn't just about calendars and to-do lists. It's about looking at ourselves and our relationship with time. Because as humans, we have a really interesting relationship with time. Like it's finite, it's going to end. And it can throw up some really interesting kind of wiring in our brains. So there is some inner work involved. And because at the end of the day, if you believe that deep down that you have to keep working hard, you have to pay your pound of flesh, you have to grind it out, every system that you build will reflect that. And if you think you need to become someone else, then you'll keep fighting against your own nature. So there is inner work to be done. And just to sort of highlight that briefly, if we're trying to move from self-sacrificer to aligned leader, we need to be kind of moving out of grind and moving towards alignment. So stop almost sort of pushing yourself through all the time and aligning with your natural strengths. Is your business model aligned to your actual natural strengths and where you find flow? Or are you sort of pushing yourself through, a mold that doesn't kind of fit? The wannabe to align leader, we want to not copy others, or we not want to chase after an idealized version of ourselves. We want to be authentically ourselves and be very happy and comfortable with what that means. The firefighter is the aligned leader, that chaos, or the hero in chaos, or doesn't feel like being a hero, it feels dreadful. We want to move out of that chaos and into design because we can design ourselves out of the middle of the chaos. Perfectionist procrastinator, we want to go from perfect action to imperfect action. And I know that's fine. I know that's where the progress comes from. We don't have to be perfect. We don't have to spend hours trying to keep ourselves safe. We can just, make progress in perfect action. That's how we'll get clarity. So, but what's interesting about all the archetypes is that all four of those archetypes are in deficit and they're all missing something or think they're missing something. They all need something else. If I could just do this, or if I can just get the plan right, if I could just, and actually when we move into abundance, like the align leader, the system builder, we don't need anything. We're completely great and good and valuable exactly as we are. And our job really then isn't sort of looking out there at options. It's looking within to work out how we align and what systems we build. And it's a far more, in my view, it's a far better place. It's a far better place to be and a more contented place to be. And certainly of all the female founders and leaders that I've worked with, that's where you start to see kind of like the magic happen in terms of like success and contentment, and being able to reach your goals. So I just wanted to sort of just start off with that, just to let you know that it is about time management, but there are other things going on. And as much to kind of, I guess, free people from thinking like, why haven't I got this sorted out? Like, why am I like this? And it's not that you haven't got it sorted out. It's not that you're like this. It's not that you're in deficit. It's just that you probably haven't had the time to really think about this stuff. Because you do need time. It does take time to think about this stuff. And it's one of the things we do in my Align OS core program. And just to sort of, I guess, almost share with you that this is what I believe. So the first system we do in Align OS is called inner alignment. And it's because I genuinely believe that until you've done the inner alignment, you can't really get the strategic direction. And until you've done the strategic direction, you can't really work on the personal operating system in the way that you could if you go through it like that. Does that make sense? And what we're going to look at today, in just a minute, is the personal operating system. So we can do stuff in the personal operating system, and we can do some stuff without doing in alignment, without doing the strategic direction. But if you want to really you really want to change the way that you feel about your days, your weeks, because what is life if it's not our days, frankly, in my view. But if you really want to make that change and that shift, it's more than just time management. And I hope that's actually freeing for you to not think that you are failing, because you're not. It's just it's not like a quick band-aid solution. There's layers and there's different systems that have to interconnect. So but we're going to focus on some practical stuff, because I would really like you guys to have some time to think right now and just sort of sketch some stuff out so that you can leave today feeling like you've got some tools in your pocket. So we are going to look at this through a really simple systems design lens. Just diagnose, design, and implement. The simplest systems design lens of them all. So we're going to dive in and do this diagnosis, and we want to know, where does our time go currently? So we know from this webinar title and sort of the question posed for today that we're doing too much ops and we need to reduce that to free time up for business building. So let's get straight into a little activity. If you are all happy to and you're in a place that you can, please grab a piece of paper and a pen. If you are not a pen and paper kind of a person and you like your phone or your tablet, whatever you use, grab that. And let's do an activity. So if you're pen and paper, 2 columns. If you're on your phone, you want to do 2 lists. But what is your day-to-day or ops work, being 1 column or 1 list? And then what would you do if you reduce this time commitment? So we've got what's eating up your day essentially on the 1 column or the 1 list. And then on the other one, say I gave you half of your time back this week, what would you be doing with that? So I'm just going to set a little timer and then see if anyone would like to share. Right, guys. So that is 3 minutes. Um, would anyone like to share what they found? We're not expecting an expansive list after 3 minutes, but would anyone like examples of what's on one list and what's on another in the comments, or you can speak into space if you like. We're not a huge number, so
I don't mind to share.
yeah. What did you? What's a couple of your examples then,
Let me
Suze?
put, I'll just put my video on so I'm not being rude. There we go. So my day to day, I literally listed out everything I might do. So emails, client work, socials, content, learning, networking, and then dog walking, gym sessions, kids, house, and homemaking.
Oh, cool. Oh, it's great to hear gym in there and dog walking. I'm really happy that they actually are featuring. That's great news. Um, and do you have anything that you would do, you'd like to be doing that you're not doing now?
I think I just like to spend a bit more time. I did mention learning because obviously I'm here and things like that. So I do
Mm.
try and make time for it. But I think
Yeah.
it's the incorporation of the learning afterwards, I think I'd like to do more of, and rather sort of get it off the notepad and into my daily life, that sort of thing. I'm great
Yeah.
at making notes, but not always making a change or working out what that change means for me.
Yeah. So taking, what you've learned and turning that into kind of process or system
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
so that when you do that new piece of work, you've already got that kind of new element
Yeah,
in there. Yeah, great.
exactly.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing that. Tamsin says, an example of my day-to-day is jumping in and out back and forth into different task client work, which feels counterintuitive. An example of something what I could do is more health, well-being, balance, and creativity. Yeah, that's really great. It's really great to see that on your list. Because another thing sometimes that happens with founders is we don't even prioritize the well-being side. So it's actually great to see that's on there and that you know that's an area that you need to you want to increase. Yeah, great. Um, fabulous. So let's have a look what we're doing next. So we are going to do, I'm just going to take this a little bit further and try and understand what on this list we could do ourselves. What could we delete? What could we defer to another time? And what could we delegate? And for the purpose of this exercise, do is you doing it. Um, delete is just getting rid of it. Like, I don't know whether you guys have experienced this, but sometimes we can carry things around on our to-do list for so long that made very little impact, don't really bring us any value, but we just somehow have this weird notion that we need to do something with it one day, and they can get carried around for ages. So if they offer no impact or no value, just delete them and just free yourself that mental drain on it being dragged around on lists. Defer, it means to defer to another time. So actually, maybe it's way better to do that thing in a month or in 3 months. And sometimes when we actually zoom out doing these exercises, we realize that it actually would be better to do that particular thing in 3 months because then that other thing can come first and that other thing has an effect on the thing that would be better to do done in 3 months. But sometimes we don't see those like sequences until we zoom out. So is it better for it to be deferred? And finally, could it be delegated? And for the instance of this exercise, if you don't have anyone to delegate to right now, don't worry about it. Just imagine for the purpose of this exercise that we do have someone to delegate to, and they are great, they are perfect. Because what we don't want to do is overthink this at this stage and run too many processes or too many different thoughts. We want us to stick with the exercise. So I'll just put a 2-minute timer on and mark down onto your list. Is this something only you can do? Is this something you should just delete? Is this something you could defer? And is this something you could delegate? So I will just put the timer on and let you guys have 2 minutes to have a look at that. Right, guys, that's been 2 minutes. So would anyone like to share what their list looks like now? Is it starting to look more manageable? Or is everything still on do? Or was 2 minutes not quite long enough to get into it? So Rachel's put a comment here. Work in events as an event manager, and often I can't delegate work to my colleagues. They're also overflowed. All areas important, so I cannot delete anything. Be keen to reduce meetings, as these sometimes can take up a lot of the weeks or interrupt it. Overall, personally, it's hard to look at my workload progress and make these decisions, as we can then be chased on not going back to emails within 24 hours. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, on that one, Rachel, are you a freelancer or is that your business? Just wondering how much ability you have to change things there. Because that's obviously a factor.
Hiya.
Hello.
Just to answer that, I work for an event agency, so
Okay.
yeah, it's not my own business. Like
Got you.
I'm an employee here.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Fab. Thanks for that
I
information.
can't hear you now, sorry.
Oh gosh, can anyone else hear me? Having all sorts of tech issues today.
No, sorry, I can hear you now.
Oh, I'm back. Great. Phew. Phew, phew, phew. Yeah, so that is a challenging situation if it's not your business. I can understand that. I mean, if it feels like the area that you are honing in on and reducing meetings might be key to getting some time back, but you're definitely right to be thinking if it's that the workload is that solid across everybody, you need to look at the where you're spending the time. And we're coming on to that in a minute. So hopefully I'll sort of pause there and sort of address it again in a minute if that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine. It's just more like kind of thinking like if that is the case of like this is kind of my issue.
Yeah.
Can I
Yeah.
do? So if you're going into that later, that'll be fab.
Yes, yeah, no worries. We've got something coming up and I will, if I forget, please do remind me. And then Tamsin said, I haven't managed to delete anything, but think if I batch certain tasks, yeah, such as marketing, yeah, that would free my day to day. Thought about delegating the dog walk, but that's literally my only exercise. Yeah, I'm with you there. I would not delegate the dog walk unless it was a short-term thing. But if that is a bit of your sanity moment and your movement moment, I would not delegate that one. Sometimes when we start to it's more the exercise is more like could I delegate this, not should I. It's more like could. It's an exercise in thinking of possibilities and options. And sometimes what we do with the delegate list is when we look at what we could delegate, it starts to tell us that's a particular kind of work, and it's a particular kind of work that can be batched, which is what you've put here, Tamsin, in your comment. So you're definitely your thinking is going in the right direction. It says a lot on my list is still to do as I don't really have anyone to delegate to. I'd like to find one so stream what I have to do. Yeah. So again, Claudia, try and think of it as like I could delegate it in the art of the possible rather than that I can't delegate it now. Because it just starts to free up our thinking about what we can do with that type of work. Because that type of work is work that might be work that we can kind of start systemizing. Okie dokie. So oh, sorry, is someone trying to talk? Because I don't want to keep talking over them if they are. No? Okay, just checking. And then finally, bottlenecks. So bottlenecks are very simply where things get stuck. And the worst offenders usually delay revenue or they have an effect on how long it takes you to get something completed or what the service levels are like or how clients feel, how satisfied clients feel. You can get sort of communication bottlenecks, process bottlenecks, resource bottlenecks. They tend to be the most common ones. And it happens a lot to female founders when, or any founders, is the bottleneck is usually in process because too many processes run through. Oh, Susie's off. Yeah, thank you, Susie. And yeah, the recording is available. I saw your note earlier. Apologies, didn't respond on that one. But yeah, the recording is available and Tara sends it out. So thank you. And actually, so many processes go through the founder, and that's why sometimes it gets called founder bottleneck. It's not technically founder bottleneck, it's technically that too many processes go through the founder. Like maybe they have to check everything off, and that really slows things up, and someone else could do it. So I'm not actually going to do that exercise now because we are getting a little short on time, but this is an exercise you could do sort of after the webinar, and it's just looking at that same list. What are the bottlenecks, and you could put a B next to them. And bottlenecks are actually a really good thing for you to work on in that do column in only the work that you can do. I think we will do this exercise because I think this will be helpful. So there's a rule called 80-20 that you kind of may have come across before. And the idea of 80-20 is that 20% of the activity you do creates 80% of the results. So we will just do this for a minute. But what we're looking for on that list that you've created is what 20% of the work, what 20% of those activities that you've listed create 80% of your results. So I'll just give you a minute, and then we can have a look at what you guys got. So results could be different for everyone. It might be that you're very much on revenue at the moment, and if revenue is where you're at, then what 20% of the work on that list is going to give you 80% of your revenue this year. You might have a different target. It might be around client consolidation or something like that. So, but whatever the target is for you, whatever you're trying to get to, let's go with revenue, maybe that's easiest. What 20% of those jobs that you've written down create 80% of the results? So would one person like to share? Might be quickest to speak into the space if you're happy to. Would anyone like to share just one thing that they feel is a high, an activity that's very important for revenue? Yeah, marketing and client work. Yeah, thanks, Tamsin. Yeah, it's a biggie, isn't it? And it's often the one that gets, abandoned in busy times, and it comes up over and over again. So yeah, business development, client work. Yeah. Yeah, so actually, the marketing and sales end of the business is often the business that kind of suffers because we're doing too much ops. But it's the marketing and sales end of the business and the visibility. Yeah, Vicky's put visibility, another great one. It's that side that we're abandoning in order to do the ops or the day-to-day work. And it's, to a degree, it's self-sacrificing. To a degree, it's stopping our own impact because we're doing too much for the day-to-day. Claudia's put client candidate calls and meetings. Yeah. So we start to see now, like, there is a cost to not doing the work that only we can do, and there is a cost to doing work that other people could do. And of course, if you can't afford to pay anyone at the moment, you can't delegate, then you might say, well, what can I do? Well, we can systemize, which we're going to talk about now, but we also need to start putting a plan together. Rachel's put client care, email comms, and push on new business. Yeah, because if we keep abandoning the marketing and sales work, then we are stopping our own impact. We are stopping how far we can take the business, and for why? So that we can do work that other people could do for us, or that they might even do better than us. Some particular bits of day-to-day work they might even do better than us. And so you have to start to kind of get this interplay between, okay, even if I can't afford anyone right now, if I can't delegate right now, what could I delegate, or how could I begin? Or if I had that bit of time back, could I make more sales to then pay someone to delegate? Or can I systemize to start to get an hour or two back to start to do the work that I keep not doing to then get the extra revenue? And so it is a fine balance. There's no easy answer, but to start with, we just have to, rise sort of, zoom out, so to speak, so that we can see that picture and start to understand what we're working to. Okay, so I'm just really briefly wanted to share this, which is a time in 4 coaching sprint that I do with clients. It's 4 hours and it's my kind of lightest offer to get people started on their personal operating systems. And one of the things we do on this is a time audit. And the reason I'm sharing this with you is because I've put this time audit in the resource pack that's available for you guys to download. And if you want to take this work further, you really want to start understanding where your time's going, we've done this sort of sketches almost just now, but if you really want to take it further, you really do have to look at doing a time audit for 7 days. I wish there was another option. I wish there was another way of finding out where your time goes, but there isn't, apart from doing a time audit. So Rachel, I think it was from the events business, maybe you've already got some time sheets. Maybe your business already makes you fill out time sheets if it's kind of you're selling time effectively in the business. So this is the time audit I use on my coaching course, and it's available in the resource pack. Let me share with you the link to the resource pack as well, actually. Meeting group chat. You can download this time audit. It's a template with instructions, so it's pretty simple. But the reason I'm sharing this with you is because if you want to batch and systemize, you want to get really laser on your time to create the time audit is the only option. And this is a little excerpt that I've pulled from one of the clients I'm working with at the moment. And this just looks at 2 days. You can see over these 2 days, it says 14.5 hours of available work time. And we can see that there's also 4.5 hours of copywriting and revisions. And so what we've got there is a third of this person's time is being used on copywriting and revisions. So I know from coaching this person that they do a lot of work on the client work, which is part of their business, and they're fine with it presently. But they need, it's funny, echoing kind of what some of you guys have said, but they need much more time to focus on their own marketing, their own writing, their own content creation, being visible, being out there. And they're not doing it. So we haven't gone into the co-design section yet of this coaching series that we're doing together. But when we go into the co-design, that for me would be an area that I would say, what about this 4.5 hours copywriting and revisions? What can we do with it? Because it's a third of your time. And if we took that off your plate, you could have that time to do your own writing, your own content creation. And even if we reduce that by half, that would still give you 2.25 hours every week to do that, even if we can get to the 4.5 hours. So what can we do? And then this is your kind of levers for design, if you like, Rachel, in your business, is where does the time go? And sort of categorizing it, like, where is it all going? And when we look at it like this, does this make sense? And if it doesn't make sense, why not? So I know from this client, for example, that they can do copywriting and they're fine with it. But I also know from the relationship and the work we're doing together that it's not their sort of zone of genius. There are other people that can do that job as well, or even better. And they would happily say that themselves. It's not me talking rudely about anyone there. So if that someone else can do the job as good or better than you, we need to think about either delegating it or delegating it with things like AI. So the other thing you can do is you can look at people and you can look at delegating, but you can also look at process and systems. So is there a way that copywriting and revisions can take half the time because we have a process? And it's a question back to ourselves and Rachel, to your team. What can we do? If you're having lots of different meetings that are quite reactive based on the client, can you get those clients into a weekly and monthly rhythm? And can you set their expectations by having a weekly that's 30 minutes and a monthly that's an hour? Can you do planning every quarter with them so that the meetings now run in a certain way, which massively reduces your meeting time? So you can always do this in like a co-design way, which is looking at the data, seeing what it tells you by categorizing it, and just start asking some questions. And I think that's probably the best way you can get to grips with that one, Rachel, in your particular situation. And finding maybe someone like your boss and sort of doing that piece of work. I'm sure they'd love it if you took the initiative and did a piece of work like that, with the right communication with that person and sort of approach it like that. So I hope that makes sense to everybody. unbelievably, we have 5 minutes left. So let's see. So just to conclude this section on diagnose, we have to know what we're spending our time on and the duration of these activities. So we've done those quick sketches now together, which is just to sort of start getting you thinking about it and start helping you and to know that it doesn't have to be a big task. However, if you do really want to get into where is my time going and how do I find the opportunities to systemize what I do, systemize my time, you've got to do a time audit. So it's available in that resource pack that I've just shared, and I've got a QR code coming up there as well. It's also available if you want to do something like time in 4 with me, where I sort of help you go through this process. Because we're often quite inaccurate about how we spend time. And the findings can be quite surprising. You can be quite surprised on where you actually. Sometimes people say to me, oh, like I just do like this all the time. And they might say that because they've just spent the last 2 weeks doing that, but that's not a real interpretation of what the data tells us, if that makes sense. So yeah, if you want to take that work further and you really want to get into like, where are my areas, where are my opportunities to systemize my time audit. Okay, so this is the resource pack that I've put together for you guys. And I apologize if you can see me keep itching my ankle. It's because I am itching my ankle because I've got a mosquito bite on it. So apologies if you keep seeing me doing weird movements over here. Okay, so I've sorted you guys a resource pack, and it's got a worksheet that goes along with this. It's got the which archetype are you and where to start. It's got the time audit template, and it's also got some offer codes for time in 4 and what's really in your way if you fancy doing one of those with me. Now, we have 3 minutes to work on the design section of this masterclass. I think what I'll probably do is just try and do a very brief overview of what this is. And then you guys will have the webinar recording. You guys will have the resource pack, and you can have a little look at it in your own time. I can go over time today if people want to ask me a few questions, if that's helpful. But let me just dive in. So the next section we're going to work on, which we sort of slightly run out of time for, is design. And there's 2 big levers when it comes to designing personal operating systems, which is energy and choice. And so these are the 2 that we're just going to look through this lens. And I'd love to sort all your problems out in an hour, but unfortunately, I can't. Because if you look at my Align OS course, you'll see that it takes 6 months to complete the core kind of course. And you'll see that there's additional modules there as well for team operating systems and business operating systems that take another 2 months each. So it's big work, guys. But I will do what I can. I will. No worries. Thank you for coming. But I will do what I can. So energy. So this is one mini system that we can look at in energy. And it's just a system that I'm offering to you that you can adopt straight away, a little mini system. And it's called energy-based scheduling. So when we look at that 20% activities that we circled earlier that make 80% difference, we need to do those activities when we have energy. And I won't ask you this question now, but like, when is your best energy? When is it? Because those 20% activities that we circled should be happening then, okay? Because energy-based scheduling ensures that work that moves the needle gets the best you, and we want that work. We want the work that's going to increase your impact and increase your effectiveness. We want that to get the best. No worries, Andrea, thank you. We want you to get the best from it. And then finally, there's 2 mini systems in choice as well. And one is the planning habits. This is a really simple planning habit, night before planning habit, because 5 minutes the night before tomorrow can make a huge difference. So the little mini system that you can adopt here. And all we have to think about is literally it's just a grab and go little process, and it's easy, and you just have to attach it to an evening habit, okay? And then finally, rules. And you might think rules, what does that mean? That's so generic. Rules mean everything. Rules mean that we're looking at personal operating rules here, but you know, these rules spread to team operating rules, business operating rules. It might mean that clients can't just add a ad hoc meeting in that week. It might mean that they can only add an ad hoc meeting from next week, Rachel. So we're looking at personal operating rules here because we're looking at the personal operating system. But rules are what you decide as an individual for yourself, as you decide together as a team and, you know, with whoever the right people are for the business. And it's just a really simple way of saying, like, whatever, people use decision matrix, information flow. Yeah, I can absolutely show the slide about planning the night before, Juliana, no worries. And it's also in the resource pack, all this. There's a worksheet that basically goes through all of this. And you can download it, and then you can add your answers from today or do whatever you want to do with it. And but yeah, I will do that before we finish, no worries. So personal operating rules, really simple things that can make a difference. Like I don't start work until 10 a.m. Well, why would you do that? Well, maybe you need to get all your energy and, all your movement and all your gym, because we often forget that movement adds energy. It might be something else, like clients can't book a meeting until at least a week out on demand. It might be that, I'm sort of switching now between personal and team and business, which is why my brain's going a bit slower, because I'm thinking about your context, Rachel, and having sort of slightly less control as an employee. But it's what things can we do? And when you're a founder, you really want to be thinking about it. Sorry, yeah, thanks, Suze. You really want to be thinking about it as in, what do you need most right now? And in the 4 quadrants. So do you need energy protection? Do you need focus protection? Do you need decision protection, boundary protection? What is it you need? Because that's the best place to start designing the rules based on what you need. Okay, so and then the sort of activity from this that you can do on the worksheet or at another time is making some rules that increase impact. Thanks, Alice, for coming. Thank you. So really just kind of concluding on design here. Energy and choice, the design levers that have the greatest effects on your personal operating system, and understanding that energy is fundamental for effectiveness and impact that's that energy-based scheduling we talked about, and needing to make sure that we're choosing, not just reacting, and that's sort of the planning habit we're talking about. And rules don't rob us of creative freedom or the license to be impulsive, they actually protect it. Thanks, Rachel. Thank you for coming. Yeah, so is there anyone left? Is it just me? Am I talking to myself? Oh no, we still have people left. Okay, great. So just to recap on this, you can easily reclaim 5+ hours a week if you go through those steps. But just sort of wanted to raise with you, if you find yourself still struggling to make these changes stick, it might be that you need to ask a deeper question, which is like, what's really in your way? Is there something else going on here if you're struggling? Because sometimes it's not about, external systems. It's about inner blocks that keep us from implementing what we know we should do. And I have got a workshop coming up on the 25th of June called What's Really in Your Way. There's a special code for you guys if you would like to join me. Just 8 seats, and it just dives in a little bit more into what the blockers could be and what you might need help with, because as I said earlier, it's not just about time management. So what now? Only you can implement. I can't do it for you. I'd love to, but I can't. So keep on with the work of the 4Ds, and implement one thing at a time and sort of take the imperfect action. And I don't know whether anyone wants to hang on still for questions, or whether I'd just bring up that slide for Juliana. But we are done. I'm sorry that last stage was a bit of a rush through. Does anyone have any questions? I can hang on for another few minutes if anyone wants to ask me anything or would like to chat about anything. No? Are we all done? Let me go back to that slide for Juliana. Thanks, no questions. Oh, great, Katie. Yay, that's the spirit. Go time audit. Think it was really interesting. Thanks, guys. Very insightful. Thank you. Let me go back for this slide. The planning habit. Was this the one, Juliana? Am I landed on the right one? Yes. Okay, great. Great. Thank you so much for coming. It was really lovely to be here and get to share this hour with you guys. And thank you, Tara, for the opportunity. If you're in the background somewhere still. And yeah, good luck with the work, guys. Good luck with the time audits. And good luck with it all. Hope to see you at some point soon, maybe tomorrow if anyone's going to the conference. Oh, nice. I'll see you there, Juliana. Thanks, guys.